Black widower buys 20-year-old woman being auctioned off by her own parents. Marcus Johnson never imagined he'd return to that house after so many years. The auction was set for 3 in the afternoon, and he arrived just as Mr. Richard climbed onto the makeshift crate in the middle of the yard. The old merchant's voice echoed across the crowded courtyard, but it was when he announced what was being auctioned that Marcus felt his blood run cold. Olivia, the youngest daughter of the Campbells, was being offered in marriage to whoever paid the highest price for the family's debt. $100,000, someone shouted from the back. 150, another raised. Marcus watched from a distance, his black hat shading part of his face weathered by the Texas plains. At 45, widowed for 3 years, he had built a solid life with his coffee farm. But nothing had prepared him for this moment. Olivia stood beside her father, her face pale, eyes fixed on the ground. The same girl he'd watched grow up, now reduced to a bargaining chip. $200,000, Colonel Blackwood's voice cut through the air. The silence that followed was broken only by the muffled sobs of Mrs. Elizabeth, Olivia's mother. Marcus knew the family's story well. Richard Campbell had lost everything gambling, mortgaged the house, the land, and now offered his own daughter as payment. What no one knew was that Marcus carried a secret about that family, one that would change everything. $500,000. Marcus's deep voice made everyone turn. Olivia lifted her eyes for the first time, meeting his gaze. There was something there she couldn't decipher. Not desire, not pity. Something deeper, older. Mr. Richard nearly stumbled off the crate. That amount would cover all his debts and leave plenty to spare. But selling his daughter to Marcus, the black widower who lived isolated on the farm across the valley? The same farm that once belonged to the Campbells? Sold, he shouted before anyone could think twice. What followed was chaos. Olivia was pushed toward Marcus. Mrs. Elizabeth fainted into a neighbor's arms, and whispers spread like wildfire. But Marcus didn't say a word. He simply held out his hand to Olivia, who hesitated before taking it. "Don't be afraid," he said softly, just for her to hear. "You'll understand everything soon." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. The wagon rocked along the dirt road as Olivia kept her eyes fixed on the horizon. Marcus guided the horses in silence, the weight of the moment hanging between them like a storm cloud. She had left behind everything she knew, sold off like some common object. Anger burned in her chest, but there was also curiosity. Why had Marcus paid so much? What did he want with her? "I know what you're thinking," he said without taking his eyes off the road. "But things aren't what they seem." Olivia clenched, her hands in her lap. The blue dress she wore was the same one her mother had sewn for her 18th birthday. Now, 2 years later, it felt heavy with the weight of a lifetime. "You bought me," she said, her voice trembling. "Like I was? A horse or a cow?" "I set you free," Marcus corrected. "There's a difference." Oak Ridge Farm appeared on the horizon as the sun began to set. Olivia's eyes widened at the sight of the property. It was bigger than she'd imagined, a large 2-story house, painted white with blue shutters. Coffee fields stretched as far as the eye could see. Martha, the housekeeper, waited on the porch. A sturdy woman in her 60s, her face lined with time but her eyes still bright and curious. She hurried down the steps as the carriage came to a stop. "Mr. Marcus, I prepared the blue room as you asked," she said, casting a curious glance at Olivia. "Thank you, Martha. This is Olivia. She'll be living with us now." Martha gave a small curtsy, but Olivia could see the confusion in her eyes. Everyone in the area knew Marcus had lived alone since Sarah had left 3 years ago. Now he arrived with a young woman bought at an auction. The gossip wouldn't stop. The blue room was on the 2nd floor, facing the coffee fields. Olivia stepped inside slowly, taking in every detail: the canopy bed, the rosewood dresser, the oval mirror on the wall. Everything spoke of good taste and care. On the bed, 3 new dresses were neatly folded. "I had Martha prepare some clothes," Marcus said from the doorway. "Tomorrow we can go to town to get whatever else you need." "Why?" Olivia turned to him, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. "Why are you doing this?" What do you want from me?" Marcus let out a deep sigh. He entered the room and walked to the window, watching the sunset over his land. 25 years ago, your father saved my life," he began. "I was just a young worker, falsely accused of theft. They were about to lynch me in the square when Richard Campbell appeared. He didn't know me, had no reason to help me, but he risked his own reputation to defend me." Olivia sat on the edge of the bed, her legs weak. "Dad never mentioned that. Because your father is a proud man, too proud." Marcus turned to her. "I tried to help him many times over the years, but he always refused. When I heard about the auction, I couldn't let you pay for his mistakes. So I'm not your—" Olivia couldn't finish the sentence. "You're not mine in any way," Marcus said firmly. "You're a free woman in this house. You can leave whenever you want, stay as long as you need. But there's something else you should know." He walked to the door, hesitating for a moment. "Your father didn't lose everything gambling, Olivia. He was cheated, and I know by whom." The door closed before she could ask any questions. Olivia stood frozen in the middle of the room, trying to process everything that had happened that day. From the humiliating auction to Marcus's revelation, her life had turned completely around in just a few hours. That evening, dinner was served at the large table in the dining room. Olivia came down hesitantly, having changed into one of the dresses she'd found on the bed, a simple cream cotton one that fit her perfectly. "You look lovely, ma'am," Martha remarked as she served her. Marcus ate in silence for a few minutes before speaking. "Colonel Blackwood was here 3 months ago," he said suddenly. "Wanted to buy my land, offered twice what it's worth." Olivia looked up from her plate. "I refused, of course. This land was earned with sweat, but the Colonel isn't a man who takes no for an answer." "What does that have to do with my father?" "Everything." Marcus set down his silverware. "Your father had the best land in the region until he started frequenting the Colonel's casino. Funny how he only started losing after he refused to sell, don't you think?" The blood drained from Olivia's face. The pieces of the puzzle were falling into place. Her father coming home distraught, swearing he'd been robbed. Her mother begging him to stop gambling. The Colonel's men visiting more and more often. "You're saying that—" "I'm saying your father was the victim of a scheme," Marcus confirmed, "and I can prove it." "Why didn't you say anything before?" "Because your father would never have believed me." "Pride, remember. But now things have changed. You're here, safe, and we can work to reclaim what's rightfully yours." Olivia felt the tears fall freely. They weren't tears of sadness, but of relief. For the first time in months, she felt hope. "We'll need to be clever," Marcus continued. "The Colonel is powerful and has many allies, but I have a few tricks up my sleeve." "What tricks?" A mysterious smile crossed Marcus's face. "Let's just say I'm not the only one the Colonel has tried to harm, and some of us have long memories." In the days that followed, Olivia began to adjust to life on the farm. She woke early, had coffee with Marcus and Martha in the kitchen, and spent her mornings exploring the property. In the afternoons, Marcus showed her the accounting books, teaching her about the coffee business. "A woman needs to understand numbers," he said, "especially in times like these." It was on one of those afternoons that Thomas arrived. Marcus's foreman was a tall, lean man with a face weathered by the sun. He tipped his hat when he saw Olivia, but there was urgency in his eyes. "Boss, we have a problem," he said. "They found William by the river." Marcus stood abruptly. "What happened?" "He was coming from town carrying the documents you asked for. They say his horse spooked, but you don't believe that. The horse was grazing calmly on the bank, and the documents, they're gone." Olivia felt a chill run down her spine. What documents were these? And why would someone go through the trouble of stealing them? "Is William all right?" she asked. "He's with Mrs. Ruth, the healer. He'll be fine," Thomas replied. "But he said he saw 2 men following him from town." Marcus walked to the window, his hands clasped behind his back. "The Colonel is getting nervous," he murmured. "He must have found out we're investigating." "Investigating what?" Olivia stepped closer to him. "The rigged casino games, the forged signatures, the altered documents." Marcus turned to her. "Your father wasn't the only one wronged, Olivia, but he lost the most. And those missing documents?" They were copies of the original land records, before the changes. Olivia's legs felt weak. If those documents proved the fraud without them... Don't worry. Marcus gently took her arm. I always have a plan B. That night, Olivia couldn't sleep. Lying in bed in the blue room, she replayed everything she'd learned. Her father, so proud and stubborn, had been the victim of a conspiracy. And now Marcus, the man everyone judged harshly for living in isolation, was her only hope. A noise in the hallway made her sit up. Light footsteps, almost imperceptible. Olivia held her breath. The doorknob turned slowly. "Olivia?" Martha's voice whispered. "Are you awake? Come in." Olivia lit the lamp. Martha entered carrying a tray with tea. "I thought you might be awake. I brought chamomile tea." As Olivia sipped the tea, Martha sat on the edge of the bed. "Can I tell you something?" the housekeeper asked. "About the boss?" Olivia nodded. "When Mrs. Sarah passed, everyone thought he'd turn bitter. After all, losing his wife so young, so suddenly. But do you know what he did?" "What?" "He freed all the workers still under indentured contracts, said no one should be owned by another, started paying fair wages, built homes for the families. Many thought grief had driven him mad." Olivia felt a lump in her throat. "And you, what did you think?" "I think pain sometimes makes us more human." Martha smiled sadly. The boss understood what it meant to lose the freedom of choice. Mrs. Sarah left without warning, taken by a sudden illness. He couldn't do anything to stop it. I think that's why he fights so hard for others' freedom now. That's why he saved you," Martha finished. "He couldn't bear to see another person lose the right to choose their own fate." After Martha left, Olivia sat thinking. There was so much about Marcus she didn't know, so much the townsfolk didn't know. The isolated, scowling man everyone feared was, in truth, someone fighting quietly for justice. The next day, something unexpected happened. Right after breakfast, an elegant carriage stopped in front of the house. Olivia was on the porch when she saw a tall woman step out, dressed in black from head to toe. "I've come to speak with Marcus," the woman announced without even glancing at Olivia. "Whom shall I announce?" The woman finally looked at her, and Olivia saw her striking green eyes. "Tell him Victoria Blackwood wishes to see him, the Colonel's wife." Olivia nearly dropped the embroidery in her hands. What was the Colonel's wife doing here? Marcus received Victoria in his study. Olivia, at his request, stayed outside but close enough to be called if needed. Through the door she caught fragments of their conversation. "I know what my husband has been doing." Victoria's voice was firm. "Evidence, documents," Marcus replied. "I can't anymore. My conscience." The conversation lasted nearly an hour. When Victoria finally left, her face was streaked with tears. She paused before Olivia. "You're Richard Campbell's daughter?" "Yes, ma'am." "Your father is an honest man. I'm deeply sorry for what happened." Victoria lowered her voice. "Be careful. My husband doesn't like being crossed." After the carriage departed, Marcus called Olivia inside. "We have an unexpected ally," he said. "Victoria is willing to testify against her own husband." "Why?" "Because she discovered it wasn't just money he stole. Lives were ruined, families torn apart. She can't bear the weight of it anymore." "And now?" "Now we must act fast. The Colonel will find out she was here." But they weren't fast enough. That same night, as Olivia prepared for bed, she heard horses approaching. Many horses. She rushed to the window and saw at least 10 mounted men, torches in hand. "Olivia!" Marcus knocked on her door. "Get dressed quickly. We have to leave." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us newcomers a lot. Now continuing. Olivia barely had time to grab a shawl before Marcus pulled her by the hand. They raced downstairs, where Martha waited in the kitchen with a small bag. "Out the back," the housekeeper directed. "Thomas has the horses in the orchard." The night air was cold as they slipped outside. Olivia could hear the men's voices at the front of the house, demanding Marcus show himself. "This way, Thomas," emerged from the shadows. But before they could mount, a familiar voice stopped them. "Marcus Johnson." It was Colonel Blackwood himself. "I know you're there. Come out like a man and let's talk." Marcus squeezed Olivia's hand. "Go with Thomas. He knows where to take you." "No, I won't leave you." "Olivia, please." "You said I'm free to choose." She stared at him. "I choose to stay." Marcus saw the resolve in her eyes and knew arguing was pointless. Together they walked back to the front of the house. The colonel sat atop his black horse, surrounded by his hired men. "Colonel," Marcus greeted, "to what do I owe the honor of this late visit?" "I heard my wife was here today." The colonel spat on the ground. "What did she come for?" "Tea," Marcus replied calmly. "Is that a crime now?" The colonel laughed, a cold laugh that made Olivia shiver, always with the clever answers. "But I know what you're scheming, Johnson. You think you can harm me?" "I think nothing, Colonel. I just live my life." "With Richard Campbell's daughter?" The colonel eyed Olivia. "Pretty girl. A waste on an old widower like you." "Watch your words." Marcus's voice turned dangerously quiet. "Or what?" The colonel leaned in his saddle. "I came to make a proposal. Hand over the girl and all the documents you've been collecting, and I'll leave you in peace. And if I refuse, then you'll find out accidents happen. Sometimes houses catch fire, sometimes people disappear." Olivia took a step forward. "You don't scare us," she said, her voice trembling but firm. The colonel studied her with renewed interest. "Brave, like your father. But look where that bravery got him." "My father was deceived by you," Olivia burst out. "Robbed, humiliated, and proof, girl. Do you have proof of that?" Then a voice came from the darkness. "I do." Everyone turned. Victoria Blackwood emerged from the shadows, holding a leather briefcase. "Victoria?" The colonel nearly fell off his horse. "What are you doing here?" "What I should have done long ago." She stood beside Olivia. "Put an end to your lies." "Woman, have you lost your mind? Go home, at once. I'm no longer your property, Victor." Victoria lifted her chin. "Just as these people aren't your puppets." The colonel signaled his men to move forward, but Marcus raised his hand. "I wouldn't do that," he said. "Look around." From the shadows emerged over 20 men, workers from the farm, but not just them. Olivia recognized some faces, townsmen, merchants, small farmers, all wronged by the colonel at some point. "Did you think it was just us?" Marcus smiled. "You were wrong, Colonel. There are many of us. And we're tired." The colonel's face turned red with rage. "This won't stand," he shouted. "You'll regret this." "Victor," Victoria stepped forward. "It's over. I have all the records here, all the forged documents, all the casino scams, years of crimes documented." You're my wife." "Was," she corrected. "Now I'm just someone who wants to sleep in peace." The colonel yanked his horse's reins violently. "This isn't over," he yelled as he rode away with his men. "You'll pay." After they left, Olivia felt her legs wobble. Marcus quickly steadied her. "It's all right," he murmured. "It's over for today." "It's not over," Victoria said gravely. "I know my husband. He'll strike back." "Then we'd better be prepared." Marcus looked at the men around them. "Thank you all for coming. You know the risk you took." "It was about time someone stood up to the colonel," said Mr. Henry, the blacksmith. "We're with you, Marcus." One by one, the men dispersed, returning to their homes. Victoria handed the briefcase to Marcus. "It's all there," she said. 20 years of crimes. Keep it safe." "Come." Martha appeared at the door. "I've prepared a room for you." Victoria hesitated. "I can't impose." "It's no imposition." Olivia took her hand. "It's gratitude. You were very brave." That night, the house remained on watch. Marcus and Thomas took turns guarding, while the women tried to rest. Olivia, lying in bed, thought about how her life had changed in just a few days, from a girl auctioned off to an ally in a fight for justice. By morning, more surprises awaited them. They had barely finished breakfast when a party arrived. This time, it wasn't henchmen. It was the county judge, Judge Thompson, accompanied by 2 officers. "Marcus Johnson," the judge announced formally, "I've come to notify you of a complaint against you." What complaint? Marcus asked calmly. The abduction and unlawful confinement of Miss Olivia Campbell. Olivia stepped forward. That's absurd. I'm here of my own free will. The judge peered at her over his glasses. The complaint states that the young lady is being held against her will, possibly under duress. Who filed this complaint? Marcus asked, though he already knew. The answer. Colonel Blackwood on behalf of the girl's parents. My parents sold me, Olivia protested, and everyone knows that. Even so, I need to verify the situation, the judge sighed. It was clear he wasn't comfortable with this. Miss Olivia, could you speak with me privately? Marcus was about to protest, but Olivia touched his arm. It's fine, she said. I have nothing to hide. The judge and Olivia walked away to the garden. From where he stood, Marcus could see them talking, Olivia gesturing as she spoke. Victoria approached him. Victor is using every weapon he has, she murmured. He doesn't know who he's dealing with, Marcus replied. Olivia is stronger than she looks. And he was right. When Olivia returned with the judge, there was a determined gleam in her eyes. Judge Thompson wants to speak with you, she told Marcus. The judge cleared his throat. Miss Olivia has explained the situation to me. It's irregular, to say the least, but I see no crime here. She confirms she's here of her own free will. So it's settled? Marcus asked. Not so fast, the judge sighed. The colonel has also filed another complaint, conspiracy and defamation. He claims you're spreading lies about him. Lies? Victoria stepped forward. I have proof of every one of my husband's crimes. The judge seemed to notice her for the first time. Mrs. Blackwood, what are you doing here? What's right, she said, handing him some documents. See for yourself. Judge Thompson examined the papers, his face growing paler with each page. This is very serious, he murmured. If it's true, it is, Marcus confirmed, and we have more proof, much more. The judge carefully tucked away the documents. I'll need to review everything thoroughly. For now, I advise everyone to be cautious. The colonel is a powerful man. After the judge left, Olivia sank into a chair. He's going to keep trying, she said. He won't stop until he destroys us. Then we have to be smarter. Marcus sat beside her. The judge is honest. Once he sees all the evidence, and what if the colonel bribes him or threatens him? Judge Thompson has family in New York, Victoria interjected. That's why Victor has never been able to fully control him. But you're right. We need to act fast. Just then Thomas burst in. Boss, someone's coming. It's Mr. Richard. Olivia jumped to her feet. Her father? Here? Richard Campbell dismounted like a broken man. His clothes rumpled, his face haggard. He looked as if he'd aged years in days. When he saw Olivia, his eyes filled with tears. My child. Father. Olivia ran to him but stopped just short. What are you doing here? I came to get you. He looked at Marcus. I made a terrible mistake. Let me make it right. Get me? Olivia felt anger rising. Like a package, like some object you can take back. Olivia, please. No, she exploded. You sold me, auctioned me off like cattle. Richard fell to his knees. I know, and I regret it. But the colonel said, he said if I don't bring you back. What did he say? Marcus stepped closer. That he'll take the house, evict your mother. She's sick, Olivia. She needs care. Olivia's heart clenched. Her mother. That's blackmail, Victoria said with disdain. Typical of Victor. Mrs. Blackwood? Richard's eyes widened. What are you doing here? Trying to fix my husband's mistakes, she replied. Mistakes you fell victim to. Richard looked from one to the other, confused. Father, Olivia knelt beside him. The colonel deceived you. The cards were marked. The games were rigged. He wanted your land. No, it can't be. It's true, Marcus confirmed, and we can prove it, but you need to trust us. Trust? Richard laughed bitterly. I've lost everything. Sold my own daughter. Who can I trust? Me. Olivia took her father's hands. I'm still your daughter, and we'll get everything back. But you have to be strong. For me, for Mother. Richard looked into his daughter's eyes, and something shifted in his expression. The defeated man gave way to a glimpse of the father she knew. "What do I need to do?" "First, stay here," Marcus said. "Martha will prepare a room. Then, we'll talk about everything that happened, every detail." "And my wife?" "We'll get her," Olivia promised. "We won't let the Colonel hurt her." As Martha led Richard away to freshen up, Olivia turned to Marcus. "We need to act now," she said, "before the Colonel does something to my mother." "I agree." Marcus was already thinking. "Thomas, saddle. 3 horses. We're going to the Campbell's house." "I'm coming too," Victoria said. "It could be dangerous," Marcus warned. "My husband wouldn't dare hurt me in public," she replied bitterly. "He still has a reputation to maintain." In less than an hour they were on the road. Olivia wore riding clothes Martha had improvised for her, and she rode with a determination. That surprised Marcus. The frightened girl from the auction had been replaced by a woman ready to fight. The Campbell's house stood at the town's entrance. As they approached, Olivia spotted 2 men guarding the gate, the Colonel's men, no doubt. "Leave this to me," Victoria urged her horse forward. "Mrs. Blackwood." The men straightened, startled. "I've come to visit Mrs. Elizabeth," she announced with authority. "Is there a problem?" The men exchanged uncertain glances. "The Colonel said—" "The Colonel is my husband," Victoria cut in. "Are you questioning my authority?" Reluctantly, they opened the gate. Olivia could hardly believe it. Years as the Colonel's wife had taught Victoria how to wield the power of the Blackwood name. Mrs. Elizabeth was in the parlour, sewing. When she saw Olivia, she dropped her needle. "My child." She stood, embracing Olivia tightly. "I thought I'd never—" "It's all right, Mother," Olivia soothed. "I've come to take you with me." "Take me?" But Elizabeth looked at the others. "Marcus, Mrs. Blackwood?" "Mrs. Elizabeth?" Marcus stepped forward. "You're in danger here. You need to come with us." "I can't leave the house." "Richard—" "Father is at Oak Ridge Farm." Olivia held her mother's hands. "He's safe, and you will be too." Elizabeth glanced around the parlour. The house that had once been her pride now felt like a prison. "The Colonel's men—" "Leave the Colonel's men to me," Victoria said. "Go pack." "Your things, only the essentials." As Elizabeth went upstairs, Olivia studied the room. Furniture was missing, sold to pay debts. The velvet curtains had been replaced with plain cloth. The family's decline was etched into every corner. "He's destroyed everything," she murmured. "Not yet," Marcus touched her shoulder. "Furniture can be replaced. What matters is saving the people." Elizabeth returned with a small suitcase. She looked years older, but there was hope in her eyes as she gazed at her daughter. "I'm ready." The departure was more tense. The guards had multiplied, now 4 stood at the gate. "Colonel's orders," one said. "No one leaves." "Not even the Colonel's wife?" Victoria raised an eyebrow. The man swallowed hard. "Especially you, Mrs. Victoria. He said he expects you at home." "Well, tell my husband I'll be home when I please," she urged her horse forward. "And if any of you lay a hand on me or my friends, he'll have to explain to society why his wife appeared bruised." It was a risky bluff, but it worked. The men stepped aside, letting them pass. Marcus brought up the rear, his hand near his holster, just in case. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to us as we're just starting out. Now back to the tale. They rode in tense silence until they were out of the guard's sight. Only then did Olivia allow herself to breathe. "You were incredible," she said to Victoria. "Years of practice," the woman replied bitterly. "I learned to use the weapons I had." Back at Oak Ridge Farm, the reunion of Richard and Elizabeth was emotional. The couple embraced, crying, asking for each other's forgiveness. Olivia watched from a distance, her heart heavy. "They'll be all right," Marcus said beside her. "They're strong, like you." "I don't feel strong," Olivia confessed. "I feel afraid, angry, confused." "So that's not weakness," he looked at her. "That's humanity." That afternoon, everyone gathered in Marcus's office. It was time to plan the next steps. Victoria spread the documents across the table. "Here are the forged records," she pointed. And here the originals I managed to save. Victor doesn't know I had copies. Is it enough to incriminate him? Richard asked. More than enough, Marcus confirmed. But we need the judge to accept the evidence. And the courage to stand up to the colonel. Judge Thompson is honest, Victoria said, but he'll need support. Others who've been wronged need to speak up. Leave that to me, Thomas, standing by the door, spoke up. I know plenty of folks who lost everything to the colonel. They're just waiting for a chance. So we have a plan, Olivia summarized. Gather the wronged, present the evidence to the judge, and hope justice prevails. It's not that simple, Marcus warned. The colonel won't stand idle. He'll strike back. As if confirming his words, the sound of many approaching horses made everyone rise. Through the window, they saw a full troop advancing. At the front, Colonel Blackwood himself. He brought an army, Elizabeth murmured in terror. Stay calm, Marcus grabbed his rifle. Thomas, call the men, quietly. Olivia watched through the window. There were at least 30 armed men, a clear show of force. Marcus Johnson, the colonel shouted. I know my wife is here. I demand you hand her over, now. Victoria moved to step out, but Olivia stopped her. No, he has no right. He's my husband. Was, Olivia corrected. You said it yourself. You're not his property anymore. Marcus stepped onto the porch, his rifle casually but visibly in hand. Colonel, on my property uninvited again. I came for what's mine, the colonel replied. My wife, and the documents she stole. Documents proving your crimes, you mean? Marcus asked calmly. The colonel's face turned purple. Watch your accusations, Johnson. I can ruin you. You can try, Marcus didn't flinch. But look around, Colonel. I'm not alone. And it was true. Slowly, men emerged from all sides. Farm workers, but also townsfolk who had followed the colonel's troop, all armed with whatever they had, sickles, hoes, a few rifles. Do you really want to start a war? Marcus asked. Here? Now? With so many witnesses. The colonel scanned the crowd, calculating. His men were professionals, better armed, but they were outnumbered, and worse, there were too many witnesses. Victoria, he shouted, come out. This is your last chance. The door opened and Victoria appeared, but she wasn't alone. Olivia stood on one side, Elizabeth on the other. 3 women united. Leave, Victor, Victoria said firmly. It's over. Accept it. You're my wife. I'm nothing to you, she replied. Never was. I was a deal, a contract, and I'm breaking it. You can't do this. I can and I will, Victoria raised the papers. I have proof of all your crimes here. If you don't... Leave us alone. I'll take it all to the judge. And to the newspapers in New York. The colonel paled. Newspapers in New York meant a statewide scandal. His local power wouldn't reach that far. You're bluffing. Want to risk it? Victoria challenged. For a long moment, heavy, silence hung in the air. Olivia could feel the tension in the air, like the calm before the storm. Finally, the colonel pulled on his horse's reins. This isn't over, he growled. You'll regret this, all of you. He signaled to his men, and the troop began to withdraw. But Olivia noticed something that unsettled her. Some of the henchmen were casting calculating glances at the house, as if memorizing details. They'll be back, she murmured to Marcus. I know, he replied quietly, but we've bought ourselves time. That night, Oak Ridge Farm became a fortress. Men stood guard, in shifts, and fires were lit at strategic points. Inside the house, the mood was tense but determined. We need to act before he does, Richard said during dinner. We can't stay on the defensive. I agree, Marcus nodded. At first light, we'll go to town, all of us. Present the evidence to the judge. It's risky, Elizabeth protested. What if he ambushes us on the way? That's why we'll all go, Marcus explained, with our allies, a full escort. He wouldn't dare attack so many people in broad daylight. Don't underestimate his desperation, Victoria warned. Victor has lost control, and men like him are most dangerous when cornered. Olivia grew thoughtful. Something was bothering her, but she couldn't place it. It wasn't until later, as she prepared for bed, that she realized Martha hadn't come to dinner. Martha, she called softly down the hallway. No answer. Olivia went to the housekeeper's room and knocked. The door swung open at her touch, revealing an empty room. The bed was neatly made, as if untouched. A chill ran down her spine. Olivia rushed to the study where Marcus was still awake, reviewing documents. "Martha is missing," she announced. Without preamble, Marcus stood abruptly. "Missing? What do you mean?" "Her room's empty, the bed hasn't been slept in." Without a word, Marcus left the study, Olivia close behind. They checked the kitchen, where Martha would usually be preparing. Something for the next day, empty, the pantry empty. "Thomas," Marcus called. The foreman appeared quickly. "Yes, sir? Have you seen Martha tonight?" Thomas thought for a moment. "Now that you mention it, no, not since lunch." Olivia's blood ran cold. Martha, always so dependable, so attentive. Where could she be? "Search everywhere," Marcus ordered, quietly. "I don't want to alarm the others." The search lasted an hour. They found her in one of the guest rooms. Martha was there, bound and gagged, but alive. Olivia rushed to help her, while Marcus cut the ropes. "Martha, what happened?" The housekeeper coughed as the gag was removed. "Two men came in during the commotion. Grabbed me." "The Colonel's men?" Marcus asked. Martha shook her head. "No, different men. They were looking for something. Said she would know." "She who?" Olivia asked. Martha looked straight at her. "You, miss. They said you'd know where it is." "Where what is?" "The Campbell treasure." Olivia felt as if the ground had vanished beneath her feet. "Treasure? What treasure?" "Martha, are you sure?" Marcus pressed. "They said those exact words?" "Yes. They said the Campbell family had a secret, something hidden, and that Olivia would know." "But I don't know anything," Olivia protested. Just then Richard appeared in the doorway, drawn by the commotion. When he heard about the treasure, his face went pale. "Father?" Olivia noticed his reaction. "Do you know something about this?" Richard stepped inside and closed the door. "I thought it was just a legend," he murmured. "My father used to tell stories about our ancestors. Hidden riches." "What kind of riches?" Marcus asked. "Gold. From the mining days," Richard said heavily, sinking into a chair. "They said our great-great-grandfather found a mine. He hid the gold before he died. They never found it." "And you never looked for it?" Olivia was skeptical. "I did when I was young, everyone did. We never found anything. I thought it was just a story." "Apparently someone doesn't think so," Marcus said gravely. "And they believe Olivia knows where it is." "But why me?" Olivia questioned. "Why not my father?" It was Martha who answered, still catching her breath. "The men said the secret was passed, now through the women of the family, mother to daughter." Olivia looked at her father, who seemed just as surprised as she was. "Mother never told me anything about this." "Elizabeth!" Richard stood up. "We need to talk to her." They found Elizabeth in her room getting ready for bed. When they told her about the attack on Martha and the mention of the treasure, she grew very quiet. "Mother?" Olivia stepped closer. "Do you know something?" Elizabeth let out a deep sigh. "My mother, your grandmother, on her deathbed, she tried to tell me something. I thought she was delirious. She spoke about protecting the legacy, about the daughters of the family, but she died before she could explain." "Nothing else?" Marcus pressed gently. "Any detail might be important." Elizabeth closed her eyes, trying to remember. She said is to look where the water meets the stone. Where the sun rises first, it didn't make sense. "The spring," Olivia suddenly exclaimed. "The spring on the old property, where the water flows from the stone, and it's the first place the sun touches in the morning." Richard's eyes widened. "Why didn't I think of that? I spent my whole childhood playing there." "But the old property now belongs to the Colonel," Elizabeth reminded them. "He took it 2 months ago." A heavy silence fell over the group. If there really was a treasure and it was now on the Colonel's land, maybe that's why, Victoria, who had joined them, suggested. Maybe Victor knew. Maybe the whole scheme to take the land. "No," Marcus shook his head. "The men who attacked Martha weren't the Colonels. There's someone else interested in this." But who? Olivia asked. Who else would know about a family legend? Just then, Thomas urgently knocked on the door. Boss, we've got trouble. Men approaching. A lot of men, and they're not the colonels. Everyone rushed to the windows. On the horizon, torches moved through the darkness, dozens of them. Who are they? Olivia whispered. Marcus grabbed his binoculars and looked. I don't recognize the horses or the men, he said tensely, but they're armed and they're coming here. What do we do? Richard asked. We prepare, Marcus replied, for whatever comes. But nothing could have prepared them for what happened next. When the riders got close enough to be identified, Victoria let out a muffled scream. It can't be. What is it? Olivia asked. Who are they? Victoria was pale as a ghost. The man in front is Lawrence Blackwood, Victor's brother. The colonel has a brother. Olivia was confused. I've never heard. Because they fought 20 years ago, Victoria explained. Over a woman and an inheritance. Lawrence left and never came back. Until now. Marcus lowered the binoculars, his face grim. If he's here now, after all this time, it's no coincidence. The treasure? Olivia murmured. He came for the treasure. The situation had just gotten a lot more complicated. Two Blackwood brothers, both powerful, both dangerous, and now both interested in the same secret. And Olivia, unwittingly, was at the center of it all. Mr. Marcus Johnson, Lawrence Blackwood's voice echoed through the night. I come in peace. We need to talk. Marcus looked at the others. The decision was made. Whatever game was being played, they'd have to play too, and pray they learned the rules in time to survive. The end. And so concludes our thrilling journey with Olivia and Marcus. What did you think? Did Olivia make the right choice by trusting Marcus? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming stories.